And we will also make new and used electric vehicles more affordable so that people can afford them.
People who are spending money on those things aren't the ones who are living paycheck to paycheck and inflation is hitting the most.
I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you scare the out of them?
White teachers are to be laid off first, regardless of their seniority.
Oh man, the electric vehicle tax credit in the new Inflation Reduction Act is kind of hilarious. Whatever happened to that Antifa teacher? Well, the outcome is now made public. And also diversity fires. You've heard of diversity hires. Now we're firing people because of diversity. All that and more coming up on this episode of Daily Caller Live. My name is Jobob. Daily Caller Live starts right now.
2, 1.
Here we go.
That might be the only brown guy on earth named Jobob.
That is actually their name, Jobob.
Live from the dingy bunker, completely cut off from the outside world, except for you fine folks. My name is Jobob. This is Daily Caller Live. Thanks so much for tuning in. On today, it is Thursday, August 18th, the year of our Lord 2022. I'm excited today because I feel like we're going to get into some minutia of things that you wouldn't necessarily otherwise hear because it's not big, groundbreaking news, but it is important to know in the way that bills and legislation and things work. Also, I'm excited because I feel like a lot of times stories kind of happen and then you never figure out what happened to it. That Antifa teacher who said, I have 90 days to revolutionize these kids back in, I think, September of 2021. We now know what happened to that, so stay tuned for that. Let me see. I want to get to this. This is the first thing that I want to get to. This whole electric vehicle kerblubble. Now, the United States government, the federal government, has been, quote unquote, incentivizing electric vehicles for a long time. If you don't know this or didn't know this, anytime you buy an electric vehicle, there is a $7,500 tax credit, which is a pretty big incentive to buy that car. It effectively means you get $7,500 off of your vehicle. If you make enough money to have to pay $7,500, which people who buy electric vehicles generally do because they're more expensive. All that aside, the Inflation Reduction Act, which I don't even know why I'm still calling it that, there was a hilarious tweet. Oh, see if I can find it really quick. Now, if I'm paraphrasing here, but I forget who tweeted it. Someone was like, "We just passed the Free Soda Act," and then everyone was like, "Quit, sweet. When do we get our free soda?" And they said, "Free soda? This act makes owning a dog illegal," which is just a play on the term that nobody thinks this is actually going to help inflation, and it's ridiculously named. But this whole electric vehicle disincentive thing in the Inflation Reduction Act is a part of the $400 billion being put into, quote unquote, climate change. Now, the problem with a lot of it is when you look at the specifics, it doesn't actually make vehicles more easy to buy. It makes it more difficult when it comes to actually buying and purchasing an electric vehicle. Here's what I'm talking about. The Alliance for Automotive Innovation, which represents automakers producing nearly 98% of cars and light trucks sold in the U.S., believes that 70% of electric vehicles currently being sold in the U.S. would be ineligible for the tax credit upon passage of the bill. What? You said? This is supposed to help incentivize electric cars. Currently, there's a blanket $7,500 tax credit on any electric vehicle, yada, 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 yada. This bill supposedly, according to the government, closes loopholes, but what it actually does is what this company says. It makes 70% of electric vehicles currently being sold in the U.S. ineligible for tax credits. Now, I want you to watch this clip from Vice President Kamala Harris talking about making electric vehicles more affordable so that they could be more affordable. Yes, I'm aware of the redundancy that I just used. That's because Kamala Harris did the exact same thing. Watch this clip of Kamala Harris again being redundant and also claiming things that aren't true. We're going to read what's actually in the bill, and it goes exactly against what she's saying. Now, if you haven't already, I see a couple hundred of you watching this, a couple thousand of you watching this. Click the little like button. Would really appreciate it. Just click the little react button. Maybe this makes you very upset. Maybe you think this is funny because, of course, you knew this was going to happen because this always happens with government intervention in the free market. Any engagement with the video just really, really helps us out. The little like button, the little share button, or leave us a comment. What do you think of one Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States? Check this out from the Veep. Here we go.
And we will also make new and used electric vehicles more affordable so that people can afford a plug-in hybrid or electric car and pay less or maybe nothing at all when it comes to gas. So these climate investments, as you all know, are the largest in our nation's history. Extremely important in terms of dealing with the crisis that we face.
Somebody said Willie Brown's girlfriend. Just, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Well, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by saying 70% of vehicles are ineligible? Unlike what Kamala Harris just said, they'll be more affordable so people can afford them. Well, with the tax credit, they were a little bit more affordable. They're still very expensive. But when this Alliance for Automotive Innovation says that 70% of electric vehicles are going to be ineligible, what do they mean? Well, for instance, this is from the Washington Post. Again, not a conservative-leaning outlet. For instance, cars aren't eligible unless they are assembled in North America. If they are not assembled in North America, they are expected to be immediately ineligible. At present, such vehicles could include Hyundai, Kia, and Toyota, among others, according to Consumer Reports. So basically, if the car is assembled in North America, they can receive the tax credit, but if they're assembled elsewhere, now, put the fairness hat on. I'm not saying I agree. I understand about cars being assembled in America, but also they get the tax credit if they're assembled in Canada or Mexico. I don't know if that's some sort of trade agreement that we have with them. I don't know. But making it, quote unquote, easier to buy electric vehicles is going to come at the cost of making a lot of them ineligible. Other models of cars, regardless of where they're assembled, would not qualify because they're too expensive. To be eligible for a credit, new electric vehicles that are vans, SUVs, or pickups can't exceed $80,000. Has anybody ever looked at buying an electric car? I look at buying a Tesla, once a week. I'm getting pretty close to doing it. I've ridden around in a couple of Teslas recently, and they're fantastic cars. The problem with that, though, is I can't afford it. They're very expensive. They're like $100,000 cars if you get the nice one. I don't know. You can probably get a Tesla for $80,000. But the majority of them are well over $80,000 to $100,000. And the majority of electric vehicles are well over $80,000 to $100,000. But if electric vehicles are vans, SUVs, or pickups, you don't get the tax credit if the cost is over $80,000. While other types of vehicles can't cost more than $55,000. What electric vehicles are out there that run entirely electrically that are under $55,000? Used electric vehicles are eligible if they cost no more than $25,000. I'm looking at getting a used Tesla, and they're still $30,000 to $40,000. So none of this would be eligible for the tax credit, which basically disincentivizes electric vehicles. A list compiled by Consumer Reports say that probably won't qualify for price tags, including some Teslas, several BMWs, and other models depending on the vehicle's modifications. This is also interesting of who won't get these tax credits. Remember, this entire thing is based upon, currently there's a blanket $7,500 tax credit, and if you get that tax credit, you might be more incentivized to buy a car. That's what the government does. They incentivize by not having taxes. If they're actually trying to incentivize people buying electric cars, they wouldn't have done all of this crap because, 70% of vehicles become ineligible? Before I get to this from Bloomberg, not only the manufacturing in North America, the assembly in North America, not only the price of the car, but your income also factors into whether or not you get a tax credit. Watch this on CNN, the reporter asking I forget the energy secretary lady's name. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude. I forget her name all the time. Watch this on CNN when asked who's going to be getting these tax credits. Check this out.
People who are spending money on those things aren't the ones who are living paycheck to paycheck and inflation is hitting the most.
Well, actually, no. I mean, people who are able to qualify, for example, for weatherization. There was a massive increase, billions of dollars, for people who are low and moderate income to be able to weatherize their home and save money right away. Up to 30% of energy bills can be saved. That was part of the bipartisan infrastructure law, which is one of the 4 pieces of legislation that I think have the biggest impact on lowering costs for people that has been passed by this president. So no, there are some things that take effect into the future, some that take effect right now.
And in terms of incentivizing electric vehicles with taxes, which they've been doing for a long time, that got eliminated because we're all about raising taxes here in the United States nowadays, apparently. I want to read you this. Does anyone remember that woman's name by any chance? Again, I think she's the energy secretary. Oh, shoot. Did it say it in the thing? It probably did. Oh, Jennifer Holcomb? Jennifer Granholm. All right. I don't know. I don't know why I felt like I needed to know that. That's completely irrelevant. But anyways, yeah, you get the tax credit so long as you don't make over $75,000 as a single filing taxpayer or $150,000 for joint filers. Basically, if you can afford an electric car, because in order to be able to do that, you have to make a decent chunk of money. If you can afford an electric car, you won't get the incentive for buying an electric car. You only get the incentive if you can't afford it and buy it anyway, I guess. Dang, man, none of this, okay. I hate to be the none of this makes any sense kind of person, but none of this makes any sense. Bottom line here is this whole climate change bill, we talked about it a lot yesterday with the Solyndra scandal, with all of the green energy programs that don't ever end up working. Getting a ton of money from the government, and we the taxpayer, just get on the hook for it. Now, I would hope that this would inform people's votes in the future, but we'll see going forward. Bottom line here is that the tax incentives that were used to have people buy electric cars won't actually incentivize anyone, and if anything, they've made it harder to buy electric cars. Which then gets into the, what do they actually mean by this? Are they actually trying to get people in electric cars? Are they trying to do something else? Here's the one massive caveat that I feel like a lot of people don't talk about. Whenever the government, the Biden administration, touts electric cars, you know who they leave out every single time? Tesla. Joe Biden has gone and driven electric GMs. He's driven electric Fords. He's driven electric Toyotas. He's driven electric Hyundai. He's driven electric every single car manufacturer in the United States and otherwise, except Tesla. If they were serious about electric cars, they would include Tesla in all of their things, because one, Tesla is the only one who's made a difference, but they won't because Tesla's not unionized. So if that tells you that they're not serious, if that doesn't tell you that they're not serious, I don't know what else to tell you. Let's get to this. This is actually super freaking interesting. Sorry for my excitedness. So a lot of times when we talk about news stories, things happen in the news that everybody's all heated about, especially in this 24-hour circular news cycle. A lot of things happen fast and you don't really get to see what happens in the end. Remember the Antifa teacher from like September of 2021? This is like right when we started doing this show. This guy, Gabriel Geip, was a teacher in Natomas Unified School District up near the Sacramento area of California. He was caught on camera in a bar or restaurant by one Project Veritas. Fun fact, James O'Keefe, who is Project Veritas, spoke right after me at this event couple weeks ago. Anyways, sorry. He was at a restaurant and said he has an objective is to turn all of his kids into revolutionaries. Flew an Antifa flag in his classroom and was caught on tape saying all of these things that, regardless of your political belief, teachers shouldn't say. If this was a conservative teacher and he said or she said, my goal is to make my kids into, I don't know, Proud Boys or whatever conservative group that goes and protests things. If that was the case, people would be up in arms, but apparently this is totally, well, first of all, nobody would say that out loud to a camera. He didn't know he was being filmed, but nobody would say that out loud. This guy did say it all out loud. Just to give you a refresher, this is what he said. This is what this wackadoo said. And then we'll get to what happened to him, which might make you a little upset. If you haven't already, click the little like button, the little share button. Really, really does help us out and get to more people and continue doing what we're doing each and every morning. Really appreciate you doing so. And also, I don't know, give us in the comment section. Before I tell you what ended up happening and while we play this video, let me know in the comment section what you think happened to an Antifa teacher in California who made some really, really bad comments on camera. Anyways, watch this. This is from a couple of weeks or a couple months ago. This is the whole thing that got him in trouble.
I have 180 days to turn them into revolutionaries.
How do you do that? How do you out of them?
The Sacramento organization that is under the banner of Antifa is very loosely organized, right? So like, yeah, when there is like right-wing rallies and stuff, then we'll create an opposition to that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Where would he go to connect to some of these organizations? Like,
I post a calendar every week,
awesome.
and then so like and I do it for extra credit, so they get points for doing it. Like, and so that encourages them to do it. And I've had like students show up for like protests, community events, tabling, food distribution, all sorts of things. When they go, they take pictures, they write up a reflection. That's their extra credit. Like I have an Antifa flag on my wall, and a student complained about that, and he said it made him feel uncomfortable. Well, this is meant to make fascists feel uncomfortable. So if you feel uncomfortable, I don't really know what to tell you. Like maybe you shouldn't be aligning with the values that this is antithetical to.
So that was the guy. He got caught saying that, geez, 10 months ago? 11 months? September? Holy cow, next month is September. Whoa. Years go by too fast. Anyways, what happened to him? There's a lot of people saying treason. He's a terrorist. Nothing happened to him. He was glorified as a hero. Yeah, F that guy. Make them Tea Party members, says Gabriel. Nice. California, absolutely nothing happened to him. Probably got pat on the back waiting for the earthquake. So waiting for the earthquake to do away with that state. Hope he got fired. So a lot of people commenting on what they think happened to him. Here's what happened to that teacher in California. I should have I don't know why I didn't pull it up while the video was playing. Probably because I'm bad at my job. Anyways, a California teacher who received widespread backlash after a video caught of him bragging about how he's working to radicalize his students with far-left ideology was given 3 years' pay to resign, according to a local report. Officials in January agreed to pay Gabriel Geip, a social studies teacher in Inderkum High School, $190,000 to leave his post without fighting his prospective firing. The Sacramento Bee reported. So he got a $190,000 settlement to leave instead of fight the firing that he would have received. After taxes, Geip walked away with $100,000, the paper reported. His annual salary is reported $60,000. Project Veritas exposed Geip's teaching methods last year in a video, yada, yada, yada. You just saw all of that. Wow, he has a flag, had a poster of Mao Zedong in his classroom? That's wild. Anyways, so yeah, that's what happened to that. So apparently you get almost $200,000. Now, again, after taxes, $100,000 to go find a new career. And this guy, I don't know, by the looks of him, will probably work at a hip, trendy brewery at some point. And that's that. So anyways, about a year later, we find out that this guy got a ton of money, taxpayer dollars, to quit teaching, which he should do. But by the way, he should leave. I think maybe if I were the school district, I would have rather fired him and gone through that lengthy and more expensive process to set a precedent of, hey, you don't get to just do this and then we pay you out. But I'm not on the ground, so I don't entirely know what's going on there specifically. Speaking of firing, have you heard this story? Diversity fires. You've heard the term diversity hires when companies hire people to increase their diversity rather than on their competence. Diversity fires is a new thing happening in some of our localities around the nation. Let me see where I'm a little bit unorganized this morning. Here we go. This, I believe, is from the New York Post. In an agreement, so this is the Minneapolis Teachers Union, I think, was on strike for the last 2 weeks. They did come back to work, I believe, on Monday, with some new, quote-unquote, agreements that the union had with the district. But one of the agreements was this, and this is bananas that this is happening. The agreement, which the union reached in March following a 2-week strike. Okay, so sorry. This, I'm getting my teachers' strikes mixed up. This one happened in March, but we're now just finding out what the agreement was that got the teachers back to work. The agreement, which the union reached in March following a 2-week strike, upended the seniority-based layoff system under which teachers who have been employed the least amount of time will be the first to be fired. So schools have layoffs, demographics change, the amount of kids in the area change. And so if the amount of kids goes down substantially and the school has to cut back, teachers end up getting laid off because they can't fill the classrooms, which is how it should work. That's just how it works. Generally speaking, it's based on seniority. If you've been there longest, you have tenure, which I don't understand tenure, but that's a topic for a different time. You have more seniority at the school, you're less likely to be laid off. People being laid off are generally the newest teachers who then go find new jobs elsewhere. And usually that works out. It's usually the best system because the newest teachers who are new to the school are generally younger teachers, and they can more easily find a new job somewhere else as opposed to the older teachers. I don't know. That's how it's worked all the time. But under the new rules, if a minority teacher is set to be laid off due to lack of seniority and because of demographic changes in the district will instead fire the least senior white teacher. Minnesota policy also favors minorities when the district comes to reinstating teachers. The district shall deprioritize the more senior teacher who is not a member of the underrepresented population in order to recall a teacher who is a member of the population underrepresented among licensed teachers. Yeah. So there's that. Basically, if the school needs to get rid of teachers or lay teachers off because of, again, demographic changes, they will go after the white teachers first if a minority teacher is like, okay, so I hate using the qualifier statements of as a minority. But here's the problem that minorities face when this sort of crap bubbles up. If you participate in any diversity hires, or in this case, diversity fires, the competence of the minority in question comes into question. If you prioritize hiring people based on the amount of melanin in their skin, what you're effectively doing is making it more difficult for them through their entire career. This goes for myself in that they have to prove that they're good enough and competent for the job more than anybody who was hired solely based on the competence of their work. I've told this story a number of times. I've been been involved in political campaigns for a long time, and there was a big race that we were running. I'll be vague on the specifics, but everybody else in the room was an older white guy, and we were set to spend, $10 million in this race. Big race. Except for me. There's me and another probably 40, 50-year-old black woman who were both in the room with, 5 or 6 older white guys discussing how we're going to run this race. If the minority diversity hires were super prevalent at the time, which fortunately they weren't, and fortunately the situation wasn't that, what I think would happen is those guys in that room would look at me and this other lady and say, well, are they actually good at their job, or are they the token minority hire? Which may be not giving us as much, responsibility that they would have otherwise given. Here's the thing. I earned my way into that room. I was very good at what I did in the political world. And I was there because I was good and I was talented at what I did. The last thing that I wanted is anybody questioning that talent because of the prevalence of minority diversity hires. So, bottom line here is diversity hires, and in other words, diversity fires as it counts in the Minnesota public schools, Minneapolis public schools, only hurt minorities in the long run. Having experienced that sort of thing, these are never good. Now, the good news, I guess, and the silver lining in this particular story is that this is not at all constitutional and will get overturned by probably a much lower court than the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court time and time again says, yeah, you can't hire and fire based off of race. That's just not a thing that you can do. So bottom line is this will not be able to stand at all. Let's see any of the comments here. Reverse discrimination is now pushed. Qualifications are out the door. Yeah, and that's a problem for minorities. This is not. There are several people here who are commenting saying that the vice president is one of those diversity hires. I will not engage in that sort of irresponsible banter. So there's that. That'll get shut down pretty dang immediately. Dang, we're running out of time, but I want to get to this because this is actually kind of interesting too. So the fiscal year ends in September, the end of September. With 2 months to go, by the end of June, let me just read the article. I'm going to stop trying to remember things that I read and just read it verbatim. Talking about illegal border crossings, which passed last year's records. By the end of June, border officials apprehended people more than 1.74 million times. Holy cow, million? Pause right here, right now. Since I think when I remember hearing about illegal immigration, I think in like 2008, right around the time when Barack Obama was putting DACA into place, which actually might have been in his second term. I don't know. Whenever I started realizing that this was a problem and started taking note of this, that was when the number of 11 million illegal immigrants were in this country. So the number has always been, talking point was, oh, there's 11 million. What do we do with the 11 million illegal immigrants? Do we deport all of them? No. Do we give them naturalized citizenship? No, I don't know. 11 million has always been the number. And that's still kind of the number. It's still like 11 million, 15. So in the last decade, the 11 million number hasn't changed. But we see numbers like this, apprehended 1.4 million people, breaking the record for total number during 2021's fiscal year, which was 1.7 million people, with 2 months left to go in the fiscal year, which at the time was the highest number. So last year's 1.73 million apprehensions were the highest number of illegal border crossings. This year broke that record with 2 months left to go in the fiscal year. The government's fiscal year ends September 30th, and at this rate, the total number of border crossings will exceed 2 million people. And those are the people they apprehended or caught, not including all the people that just got in, because there's a ton of people that just get in. This might be the longest pause and sigh I think I've ever done on this show. If you're listening to the podcast, no, it didn't cut out I don't even know. 2 million people coming in. Now, people are still, again, saying 14, 15 million illegal immigrants. The number is closer to like 25 at this point. It has to be. Just statistically, it's got to be 25, maybe even close to 30 illegal immigrants in this country. But again, that number is expected to exceed 2 million. There's a couple different Title 42 clauses, yada, 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 yada. Oh, but I thought this was freaking interesting. This is how lefties and Democrats in office, especially Joe Biden, categorize this sort of stuff. Month-to-month numbers were down in June, supposedly, according to the Biden administration. Remember the whole inflation? The numbers for July is 0 because it went up 0%. That means inflation is increased 0%. Cool, that's not how we measure that sort of stuff. And here, the month-to-month numbers being down is also not how we measure this stuff. But they were trying to brag about that at the end of May. Month-to-month numbers are down. Means immigration is down. No. We broke the record that was set last year with 2 months to go in this year. So there's that. Not really much more to cover there. So that will, that'll do it for us today. All of you who continue watching each and every day, I appreciate you doing so. Anything to announce? If you live in the Southern California, San Bernardino area, I will be in San Bernardino at the DoubleTree Hotel off of. There's an event that I'll be out. Follow me on social media. Okay, let's reset all this. If you haven't already, give me a follow on any of your social media accounts. And if you live in that area, that neck of the woods, and you want to come say hi, I'll be speaking at an event tomorrow night, Friday, San Bernardino County. I think San Bernardino County Republican Party is putting on an event, and I'll be there. And if you want more information on that, give me a follow on any of your social media accounts. I believe it's like $10, so very, very cheap, and I think they're doing it big. So should be a good time. Give me a follow on any of your social media accounts to find more information on that. Tomorrow, I forget what I wanted to talk about tomorrow, but there's some stuff. And Friday, we'll try and keep it lighter hearted. But the problem is, I think there's a White House press briefing today in which KJP will be running her mouth and saying nonsense, in which case we'll have to get into all of that stuff because that's, I don't know, generally speaking, always the clips for the week. That'll do it for us today. I appreciate you tuning in, sticking around. We will see you. Wow, a lot of comments saying, "Oh, come to Lexington. Oh, come to Iowa." Well, okay, yeah, maybe we'll figure out how we can get out in those areas. All right, well, see you tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow. God bless America.